4, 3, 2, 1.
Now, customers are the backbone of any and all businesses. If you want to get more customers, we've got to seduce you all.
You've got to progress. If you want to attract bigger people in your life, then you've got to become a bigger person. You've got to become better at your skill sets. You've got to immerse yourself into personal development. You've got to find a mentor. You've got to find one or two people that have the results that you want.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Untold Upline Secrets / The Interviews. Today, we have another goodie. You know, I've been blessed enough to be able to interview some of the best, but I get to spend some time on this one because I've been knowing this young lady for a while, and she has a hell of a story. So first of all, I met her back at least a decade plus ago. She actually grew up in the direct selling world. You know, her mother as well as her father are great networkers. And she was one of those people that grew up in the industry. And she learned a lot by, attending a lot of those hotel meetings and listening to her mom and dad and listening to three-way calls all day, every day, to getting all the right personal development books at a very, very young age, and really started her journey in this industry a while back. And throughout that time, she's been able to create some massive success. Every company she's ever been in, including the one that she's building right now, she's absolutely crushed. Teams of thousands of people around the world. I've been able to watch her go from, 4 figures, from 5 figures to 6 figures. And I have zero doubt that she's probably 12 to 18 months away from having her very first 7-figure year. So because of the relationship that her and I have, and the fact that I get to talk to her a couple of times a week, and her and her business partner, and the friendship that we've developed, this is going to be a very intimate and very good video. So let me bring up to the stage my good friend, Miss Bunmi Moore. Bunmi, what's going on, Rockstar? What's happening?
Hey, you said all that like you know me well or something.
I think I might have been knowing you for a week or two or something. I don't know. How you doing over there?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm telling you, no, I'm not just doing good. I'm doing great. If I was any better, I'd be twins. I know you heard that.
There you go. This is very true. Now, there's going to be some people, Bunmi, that know you that will see this video, and then there's going to be some people that don't know you. So we've got to start off with, who is Bunmi Moore? You got to give us a little backdrop of your story.
Awesome. Well, you gave people a really great foundation about me. Let me give you some extras, you guys. So I am a mom of 5. I am a grandmother of 6 with one more on the way. And so I'm a grandmapreneur, a mompreneur. I am a lover of people, a personal development enthusiast, and as you said, a second generation networker. And I believe that plays a big role in who I am today.
No, I would agree. I've been able to spend time with your mom and dad, and listen, at their age, they still got that swag. You can't tell them nothing. If you can't tell me nothing had a face, that's your mama and your daddy. They still got that swag. So take us back a little bit. You grew up in this industry. What was it like growing up with parents that were always networkers, always busy, always doing something? Like, were you in the cradle at meetings? Like, give us a snapshot.
I was in the back of the room, doing my homework and not really paying attention to what was going on from the speaker, but I was paying attention because it was getting into my subconscious. I can see a lot now that just is in me because of what I took. So
we just lost you, Bunmi.
There we are. Yes. So a lot was poured into me that I didn't even know at that time on a subconscious level. So going to all the meetings, getting to travel internationally because my parents were winning the trips. When a trip would come up, they had to win the trip,
Right.
So got to travel internationally. And actually, my parents' network marketing, their first success was with a company called A.L. Williams, which is now Primerica. They were
Yeah,
national sales directors, and I'm sure you probably have heard of the great Art Williams, in his Just Do It speech.
that's
So
right.
I came up under that. So Art Williams is a, hey, balls to the walls, let's get it done. We don't want to be around no dead butt people, no excuses. And so that's just like in me. And some second generation networkers are either like, I think you either like love the industry or you hate it. A lot of people like don't follow that what their parents did, but I just soaked it in. I was like, how much y'all making from the pools this month? like what's the goal? Like, when's the next trip? I was just like all into it as a teenager. Yeah.
So I never asked you. I have no idea why I never asked this question. Are you a single child? You're only child?
I'm my mother's only child. So I grew up as an only child in my household. So it would be like my parents in the front of the car, me being in the back, and all my parents talked about was business. It was
Right.
the next meeting, the next fast start school, how many recruits, them calling their team. And it was just that's all. That was my world.
Wow. Wow. Now it makes even more sense. So did you jump coming as a second generation networker? Did you go from learning all this stuff to jumping right into it, or did you get a job first when you kind of left the household?
Well, shows that I should have put my phone on do not disturb. Oh, goodness. Sorry about that.
That's a
So
networker for you. That's a networker. See all the interruptions.
I apologize. Well, let me tell you all. So at 18 years old, I got my insurance license, right?
Okay.
So got my insurance license at 18 years old. At like 13 in no 12 in 1983, my father made me do a report on Think and Grow Rich. So I had to read the book
Wow.
and do a report, and it's still somewhere like up in the attic or something. And so I went to college, and but my first presentation that I ever did was at age 19. I was a single mom, had my baby in the carrier. I was up the street from here where I built this house now at my friend's house. And we had two guests in the room. My girlfriend who I recruited, my very best friend from today, and I was standing up giving a new skin presentation in 1991. And I still got the video of that on VCR somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah. So I kind of like dibbled and dabbled. So I was like in it, but not really, really in it. I was signed up, but I was still doing the college thing. So it wasn't until like, when did I get serious about network marketing? I think 1998 when I was in Tahitian Noni.
Okay.
Yeah, my mother was a diamond pearl. And at that time, let me tell y'all, like, even though my parents had their success, I had to live out my own life, and it was a lot of struggle. I was a single mom, with the guy, but had my first baby at 19 while I was in college. Had my second child at 21 while I was in college, and graduated within 5 years. Though got married at 21, and we struggled. So it was the whole Section 8 thing, done that. Food stamps, done that. WIC, done that. So I was living this life where I was dependent on the government and I was dependent on the social services, but I knew that wasn't my destiny. You know what I'm saying? I knew I wasn't going to be there all of my life because I had grown up seeing something else, but you got to kind of chart your own course, right? So I remember in 1998, when I signed up in Noni, my goal was $500 a month. If I could just make $500 a month, that would really, really help out our situation. And so I remember getting to 500. And then I thought, man, 2,000, like if I was making $2,000 a month, that would change everything for us. And I hit $2,000 one month. Don't know what happened after that. But yeah, that's when I really got serious, was around 1998.
1998, you got serious. So from 1998 to what year? That's when that's when you said, okay, I can make this a business. But in 1998, it wasn't really paying you. You know,
Right.
you had one $2,000 a month. It wasn't like it was 5, 10, 15 grand a month constantly coming in. So when did the light bulb kind of go off that, whether it was 3 grand a month, 4 grand a month, 5 grand a month, like when did that happen that you can say, okay, I can now truly depend on this?
Gotcha. So when in 1998, I started getting in front of the room doing presentations, right?
Okay.
I started doing presentations, still struggling. 2000, guys, I moved out of Section 8 housing and moved back in with my parents. So it took all 5 kids. I was married, my husband, all 7 of us moved back into my parents' household.
You had your own downline already. What you talking? I mean, you was building already.
Right. And so I thought that, I don't know what business I was doing at the time, but I was like, okay, in 1 year, I had a goal of moving out and moving back into my own home. So that 1 year turned into 5. But let me tell you what happened. In 2003, we were struggling so much. The stress was so high. I'm like, okay. And I wasn't working a job. I'm like, I got to get a job. I have a degree. I need to go back. Let me just get a job as a teacher. My degree was in business, but I'm like, Baltimore City at that time was hiring anybody who had a degree. So I'm like, $40,000 would be a lot for us. Let me go back and get this $40,000 job. So got this job. And guys, let me tell you all, I am psychologically unemployable to this day. Hated the job, loved the kids, had ulcers. I'd be in the parking lot in the morning crying. So all I could stand was 10 months of that, right? So I was a Baltimore City school teacher for 10 months. So I started doing, my parents had found another business in 2004, somewhere around there. And I got involved. And in about a year, or a little less than a year, after I had quit the school teaching job, and I was making like $3,000 a month part-time in this business. And so the CEO was like, I remember there was this meeting, and he wanted me to get up front and talk about my success of $3,000. And I'm thinking, no, that's just something that's small. You know, what can I say? I'm only making $3,000. And he put it in perspective. I want you all to listen to this. He was like, Bunmi, you're making part-time from a home-based business just as much, or if not more, than you were making as a school teacher. Do you know what big of a deal that is? Do you know how many people would love to make $3,000 a month from home and not have a job, having fired their boss? And that really put it in perspective for me. I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing something. I replaced this school teaching job. So I kind of like was an inspiration for the company. And then within a year's time, I went from 3,000 a month to, I remember that income growing. I got to 5,000, then 7,000. So I remember when I got to 7,000, guys, got this check in the mail. You know, back then we got checks in the mail. And I'm like, I ain't going to tell my husband I got this $7,000 check. He going to think we're rich and want to spend all the money. I called my girlfriend. I was like, girl, I made $7,000 this month. And then I went to 16,000. And I was just like, I would go to Provident National Bank to cash these checks. I don't know why. Maybe it's too much money. Something it wasn't going through. And then we had to call the home office and do something manually. But it was just awesome just to go from just, you know, this struggling mom where just money was an issue. The car broke down, couldn't get it fixed, always borrowing, to now 5 figures each and every month, and now able to do some of the things that the freedom, you know, time freedom and money freedom can give you, that just bless my family. So 2006 was my first time I got to 5 figures a month consistently, my first 6-figure year.
Nice. And you know, throughout that process, you created a lot of relationships. You know, if there's one thing I know about you, you are serious about collecting and nurturing. Keyword being nurturing relationships. There are people that work with you today, and it's 2023. It'll be 2024 when this is released, being that it's November right now, that you worked with back in 2008, 2009, 2010. So what is the secret sauce? You know, what is the secret sauce to that? Because you don't forget my birthday, and I mean, I don't know if you got the stuff locked down. You know, I have no business at the Waffle House, but every now and then you'll send me a treat. You know, then you're like this year, you know, to keep saying out the Waffle House, send them to Whole Foods, and I really appreciate you and Daryl for doing that. You absolutely rock. But you have nurtured, you've nurtured these relationships over and over and over. What's the key to that, and why are you so focused on it?
Well, you know, I got to take it back to how you started this conversation. And it has to do with my parents, because I saw the way they built, and it was all about the team. The team was the thing. They loved on their people. They really wanted to see their people successful. It was like a family. And I saw that. And so that's just natural for me. For me, it's not about, you know, I don't see people as a dollar sign. Like, in my heart, right, want people to win. And I've had the struggle of wanting it more for people than they want it for themselves. And like kind of like agonizing over, what can I do to make this person successful? It's nothing I can do to really make them successful. You know, it has to be what's in them. But in my heart, I want it to be something that, you know, I can do. So it's just, I truly love people. I know the potential of each of us as a human. And I just want people to live out that potential that they have inside of them. So that's what it's about. You know, I got to see some really good role models, really good mentors, and that just poured into me. And now I get to pour it out to others.
That's serious right there. You know, it's all about the mentors and the people that we surround ourselves around and the things that we learn, which monkey branch into the next question perfectly. You know, you are a stickler. You and your team are a stickler for personal development. What are some of the books, courses, events, whatever that you've gone to, or that you've read, that you've listened to, that have forged who you are today?
Got you. So back in 2004, there was a gentleman named 2005, Delzino Wilson Debriano. You know Delzino? Okay. So we would travel from Maryland down to Atlanta to his office for tag team marketing events. And he would have some events called the Black Business Seminar. So Delzino was like a 26-year-old millionaire with a team of 100,000 people in ACN. And he got kicked out because of his, like, just the way he would do things, right? And he said, look, I'm going to teach Black people how to do what I did and have a team, a family, a unit, and become millionaires in network marketing. So I learned a lot from Delzino Wilson Debriano of, you know, building up a sales team, and he would give like the process for recruiting and building up a team and gathering customers first before you start sharing the business. He just had an awesome system. So Delzino was one person. Then another person is Danny Johnson. Yep. We would travel and take the team to Danny Johnson seminars, and she would have her script book. And so I learned from the script book of, you know, what to say and how to say it. And oh my gosh, Jerry Clark. So my parents would bring in these awesome people like Jerry Clark and his whole, both the rhinos and the cows. And so we would listen to that personal development. And then my parents also, this guy right here credits my parents when he was at his lowest. We brought him in. He made $70,000 one day just from pouring out to our team and our team buying his products. And that's Myron Golden. So we would bring all the time, no? And Myron was the person, he said, if you pour your purse into your mind will fill your purse with gold. Just nuggets like that. Myron said, look, y'all, if y'all not making $20,000 a month, unplug that television, put it in your garage. You don't need to watch TV until you get to $20,000 a month. So we had some really great trainers and mentors back in the day, taught those timeless, universal, foundational principles of network marketing and personal development.
That's deep. That's deep. You know, you named some old schoolers there. You took it back. There's some people that are gonna look at this and go look up those names and be like, huh? And probably the biggest one in that conversation, I would say, is Myron. Because of who he's become today. He's one of the top business coaches in the world. I think this year so far he's made about $30 million, and it's November. You know what I mean? It's still another month to go. He lives about 25 minutes away from me, so I'm lucky to be in the same city with them. I actually just saw him a couple of weeks ago, so definitely been able to watch that process and be around those people. Listening to those people, they're the best. However, I want to take it a step further. You know, we're in 23 right now. You took me back in the day. You've got a DMO today that isn't the same as it was 15, 17, 18 years ago. So who are some of the people that you're listening to today? And then what is a part of that daily mode of operation when it comes down to personal development?
Gotcha. So, oh my gosh, there is this one guy who I look to today. I have him on my self-image vision board. I don't know if you know him or not, but his name is, they call him Cedrick Harris. I'm telling you, this guy since 2015, I've looked at him like, I want him. Like, great marketer of just, teams of tens of thousands internationally, maybe hundreds of thousands internationally, and just, he put out something in marketing and everybody just like signs up, right? Put out a post and it's hundreds and hundreds of people, liking it. And I'm like, I look at that, I'm like, I want to be like that when I grow up. So, I really have to give it back to you, because since we started working together, you just been like that guy, like a for real person. You're authentic. You tell where you came from and you use that as inspiration for people. And I really appreciate you, for that. I really do. So, of course, you would be top on that list.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And then as far as personal development, and you asked me about the books. So, but let me go back in the day, because before we had before there was YouTube and all that, we had the book man showing up every week at our meetings. He just bring all the books, and afterwards every week you just be buying all the books. So from everything you all know now, from of course Think and Grow Rich, The Magic of Thinking Big, W. Clement Stone's books, and then things like dynamic thought. Haven't heard many people talk about that, but like all the things that we were doing 20 years ago, and learn about affirmations and visualization and the power of the mind and all that. I think with the internet is more of a thing now, because more people get to hear about the powers that we have, in us. So my daily method of operation starts with me getting myself centered and balanced first. So I have a time of meditation and prayer. And then you got to have your gratitude in the morning. So prayer, meditation, gratitude, affirmations, and reflection. So that's what I do. I mean, if not every morning, at least 5 out of 7 mornings, because I got to get myself right in order to be right, to show up powerfully in the world. So.
No, that's for real. And there's something about, I actually put up a post about that today. I said, your day hits different when you started off with prayer and gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Day just hits different. Like as soon as I wake up, I have pretty hard floors. So when just like everybody does, but as soon as I wake up, I turn over and I get on my knees and I start praying.
Mm.
That's the first thing I do before I get out of bed, because I woke up today. That means that God has something else for us. There's a reason, because there's people that don't get to wake up every day. And I think that when you start your day off with that prayer and you spend that time in gratitude, you spend that time in that gratitude of, hey, I'm breathing. I've got I've got ears. I've got a roof over my head. I've got family.
Yeah.
I got brothers, I got sisters, I got kids that are healthy, I've got grandkids that are healthy, I've got a car, I've got money to pay the bills. It's just that to be able to have that gratitude for those little things that sometimes we take for granted. It's impossible to get the bigger things without having the gratitude for the little things. Because and even if you do get them by accident, you want to appreciate it, and then you end up losing it anyway.
Yes.
So that's key, starting that day off right like that. So I love it. Now, you did a book years ago about affirmations. So why are affirmations so powerful? And why did you spend so much time on that? Because when you launched it, that's all I did. Every doggone day was affirmation. And I believe in them, but I want you to tell the world, like, why did you spend the time on that, and why are affirmations so powerful?
So our words have power. And again, I learned this early on. I remember of literally my father doing affirmations back in the 1970s. I keep talking it back, but I'm telling you, my childhood has a lot to do with me now. He had this postcard, all these index cards in a spiral bound index card holder. And I remember him just sitting in the bathtub, saying his affirmations. So guys, affirmations ain't nothing new. Right. And really none of this, what we talk about in personal development, is new. We go back to the Bible. The Bible supports it all. Life and death is in the power of the what? Is in the power of the tongue. A lot of times people hear these things, but they don't make it real in their life.
Right.
But when you make it real in your life, for me, because I learned to use affirmations, confessing things, calling those things that are not as though they were. So I started, you first hear that for me in church, right? And then you believe it because somebody tells you to believe it, and you see it in the word of God. But then when you start using it and you see the power of it and you start manifesting things, and then you're like, wow. For me, I was like, I can't keep this to myself. I got to tell people. Because I see just so many people living quiet lives of desperation. And I'm thinking, but your life doesn't have to be like that. You can change. It can be better. So a basic place to start is with what you're saying out of your mouth, right? So I said, I'm going to teach people how to change their world by changing their world. So I started with the affirmations, making sure that people knew, don't just think the power is just in the words. Yes, words do have a frequency, but you have to, it's the feeling behind it. As Neville Goddard said, the secret is in the feeling, right? So I go into teaching people all that. So you got to come up with what do you want to see? So start saying what you want to see, but then you've got to feel it and get the emotion behind it. As Bob Proctor talks about, you got to be emotionally involved in that goal. Because some people say affirmations, Cedrick, and nothing will happen. Oh, affirmations don't work. Well, it's not the affirmations don't work. It's just that maybe you haven't been taught how to really work them. You've been thinking, oh, just something's going to change just because of the words. But it's more to it than that.
No, that feeling is a big deal.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest reasons why, we've had mentors that have told us that, hey, if you want that car, go test drive it, go sit in it, go smell it.
Yes.
So you can witness, that, I remember going looking at houses that I couldn't qualify for. There's just no way. I was smart enough to be able to seduce the real estate agent with him thinking that I could, you know what I mean? By just telling them some things. But at the end of the day, knowing that I can't qualify for it, but walking in that and looking around and, man, I want a sink like that. I want a bathtub like that. And then all of a sudden you start to visualize those things. And I think that with the affirmations is, I'm so happy and grateful that I have XYZ. I'm so happy and grateful. Like you're in that feeling already.
Mm-hmm.
You already have it. And I think that's the key to what you said. That's the key to what you said. Like people just, oh, they don't work. They don't know. Everything works. Sometimes you just don't work.
Yes.
Like everything works. Is like, did you just, you said it today and you wanted it to show up tomorrow. That's not the game. It's all about that feeling. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that you brought that up. So let's shift gears here for a second. You know, you've been in this game for a while, and you've been able to travel the world, different countries, different cities, states, all over the place. You know, why are you such a big stickler and getting so many of your team members to events?
Well, because it's true, events really do change you. When you get to an event, it gives you that shot in the arm that you need to go out here and have the belief so that you would do the things that you need to be doing. If your belief level is low, it's going to be harder to talk to people. You're not going to be excited. You're not going to want to make that video. But when you can intentionally, when you understand, wait a minute, if I go to this event and I get into the energy of other successful people and I get inspired by these people on the stage and I'm just in the magic of this energy, that's going to do something to me. That's going to help to raise my belief level and give me more excitement, or maybe temporary, even if it's just temporary motivation, so I can leave here and go make something greater happen. So it's so important to get to events, because events really do change you. And then it's the relationships. Like we said, it's not all about the meeting, but the meeting after the meeting. That's so important. Now you're in the hallways and you're talking to some leaders and you're getting the secret sauces that maybe they didn't say up on stage, and you're getting phone numbers and you're making those connections. All of that goes a long way for your success in network marketing, even if it's not at that company that you're at right now. Let's say if you go to your company event, I'm telling you, the things you may learn this year and the relationships you get this year may serve you 4 or 5 years down the road. You just never know when that relationship is going to come around and for a certain time. So it's vitally important to get to the events. And another thing for me is, like, when I sign up in a business and I make a decision to build something, I have that commitment, and it's important for me for corporate and for the leaders to get to know who I am as well. So me attending the events and sitting in Millionaire Row as close to front as I can get, and meeting the people and doing videos with the people and taking pictures with them. Guys, I'm telling you, all of that is part of the magic and secret sauce for you elevating yourself to where you want to be in your prospective industry.
You do videos with everybody. You do pictures with everybody. I look at your social media sometimes. I'm like, how does she even get that? Like it blows my mind, but it creates those relationships, because just like you said, one thing that we know that's a constant. The constant is everywhere we go, there you are. Everywhere you go, there you are. The other thing that we have to understand is that if we don't own the company, we don't know if it's here for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, or 2 months. Like,
Right.
we don't know. So if you're smart enough to create these relationships, you don't know what doors those relationships might open 2, 3, 4 years later. I spoke at a particular company. It's not a network marketing company. It's a high ticket company. And I spoke at their training about 7, 8 months ago. And, the back end of the things that they wanted to do wasn't really put together correctly. And they needed some help bad. But long story short, I created some really, really cool relationships after my 1-hour training. And one of the gentlemen just recently introduced me to this movie producer that very, very well connected, that's doing some very cool things. But if it wasn't for that event, that relationship would have never been created. That would have never happened. So I think that, the power of the events, people don't really get sometimes. And the people that you meet, you're one person away from changing your life. And you don't know who it's going to be, what country it's going to be in, what event it's going to be in, if it's going to be in a hallway, if it's going to be the person sitting beside you. You just don't know. So I'm with you there. I'm with you there. Now,
He said in the movie,
Say it again.
We about to see Ced in the movies?
No, I don't know if I'm being. I don't know if he's a movie producer, so I don't. I don't think I'm going. I'm not going to be. Well, you know what? Hold on. Let me watch my mouth. One day I will be in a movie, but that's not the purpose of this. I'm gonna speak that into existence, but.
Right.
The whole point of me saying that is that this gentleman is very well connected. He's a movie producer, and who knows where that relationship goes. I have no idea, but he does other things in the marketing world outside of just producing movies. So I think that's where probably that relationship is going to go, somewhere in marketing. But yeah, let's take this one step further. You know, you are the first woman, you know, that hit a specific title in your current company in the whole entire United States, and a pretty large doggone company. You know, the first woman that hit that rank, and you did it in record time. I think you did it in 6-7 months. You know, and you didn't come from, oh, I'm transitioning these amount of people over here. You didn't come from a transition. It was a straight organic build. How did you actually do that? Because people want to know that this is one of this book is Untold Upline Secrets.
Okay.
Like, you know, what's the secret? How does somebody go from 0 to 6 figures organically without transitioning a team, and they do that in 5 to 6 months? Like, how do they do that? Give us a couple of tips and techniques of things that you did to make that happen.
Okay, let me go back and see give me pull up a couple of nuggets. So one would great leadership and inspiration from Cedrick Harris. But honestly, Cedrick, I'm telling you, you were like, it was like, okay, now's my chance. I get to be like him. I wanted to make you proud, honestly. Now, I know I've been in companies without you and been successful, but if I was working with you, it's like, I'm not going to do things small. You really did help to fuel my belief. So I had great leadership. And I believe that's important, you know, having great leadership that you can depend on. Because even though I'm self-motivated, I don't need to call you every day, but you were there for me. In the beginning, here's something. In the beginning, right, guys, I said, I got to make up this income fast. I don't have time to just, you know, slow roll this. So I got to do things differently. And I said to myself, well, what's the right way to start? I got to start with difference makers. Yeah, there are a lot of people I could go back to and just sign up any old person, but I gotta call those people who I know would make a difference if they said yes. Because you know how we say all no's are created equal, but all yeses are not. So I made that what's called chicken list, right? And you remember some of the people on my chicken list, but you was like, wait a minute, that's my boy. You don't need to call him. But is who do I know that like knows a lot of people, can bring a lot of people, you know, has teams. So I started out in that energy. So holding myself accountable to that. Then you asked about the daily methods of operation. So truly what I do in the morning sets up my day. It just sets up my life. So being clear on what it was that I wanted, seeing the end from the beginning, and I am full out. Like, I know that I am a creator. I know that we are reality commanders. And so I live my life from the spiritual realm more so. And like Reverend Ike says, the more you work your mind, the less you have to work your behind. And
I like that.
I live by that. Let me say it again for the people in the back. The more you work your mind, the less you have to work your behind. And then the Quakers say, when you pray, you move your feet. So I got it all going on. I know about mind power, right? I see myself where I want to be. I feel it. I speak it. I do all of that. But then I ain't afraid to work. Cedrick Harris said, I don't know, 70 years ago, you said, you got to get dirty in them trenches. Cedrick Harris said that. I never forget. And I tell people, if you ain't getting dirty, if you ain't getting no's, if you're not getting rejection, if you're not feeling the fear and doing it anyway, you're not doing business. So I'm like, you got to get into the game. So I just had to put myself in it. What does that mean? I needed to be and this is another place we started out with, like God, omnipresent. I gotta make myself everywhere. I gotta be on YouTube. I want to be on Facebook. I want to start doing reels. I still don't know like all you know about the internet. Like I'm far from it, but I'm like unconsciously competent, guys. So I know how to make a video and post it out in some kind of way. People see it, right? So it's just like I'm just not afraid to work. So that's kind of
That's key. That's key. Let me add to that though, because there's a couple things that you missed that I know of you. You're very intentional about presentations. Very intentional about, I'm going to put this in front of this person, this person, this person, this person, this person, and you keep track of your no's. And I think that's an art that a lot of people miss. They don't keep track of their no's. They don't keep track of their yeses, so they don't know their ratios. You're also very intentional about three-way calls, extremely intentional about plugging people in three-way calls. Intentional with that, and edifying a leader and putting another leader on with another leader. So very, very intentional about that. And I think the other side of it is that, and I say this in a very nice way for those of y'all that know or don't know, Bunmi is not like some internet magician. That's not who she is. You know, she's great at relationships. She's great at connections. So she isn't running, some ClickFunnels ad and this and that, and nothing wrong with that, because there's a lot of us that do that, and there's a lot of people that you've learned from in these interview series that do all sorts of different things. And that's one of the reasons why I want to Bunmi on here. I love the diversity from the people that do it this way and people that do it that way, because we're not on here promoting some opportunity. We're talking about the industry and different ways that people can take advantage of, and there's different ways that people market. So, just like you said, you're everywhere, but you're not like, I think you use the internet. If I were to put a title to it, the internet for you is more of a resume. So when you go look at, when people go, and you might be indirectly doing it this way, but that's how when I look at you and I see your stuff, it's like, if somebody goes on YouTube, there's some video, okay, the resume. Somebody goes on Facebook, and when I say resume, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not talking about some job resume or network marketing companies list and blah, blah, blah. I'm talking from content, from talking about this, from talking about that people, when they go look you up, they see the resume, which brings me to the next question. There's times that you've gone live, even recently, and I want you to talk about this, because I think a lot of people are afraid of this. One thing that I know about you don't care if there's 2 people watching or 50 people watching. You don't care. You just go do what you do and you post it. I know people that they'll put up a video or a post and come back in an hour, and if it didn't have enough likes or comments, they delete it. It didn't get enough attention. You don't care if there's 5 people watching, if you got 3 comments or 30 comments or 300 people. Where did that tenacity come from? Because you literally don't care. Like, I watch the content, I see.
Well, like I said, I think this, I didn't know that was a thing, what you just said.
Maybe I shouldn't have said it to you now.
I'm like, oh, people do that? So,
yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know that. It was a thought in my mind to ever do that. But like I said, like, I look at Cedrick like, ooh, he's this marketer. These people, I'm not a great marketer, but I like what you said about using it as a resume. So if somebody does see me on YouTube, and believe me, I don't like know how to get a lot of views and stuff. I just put my stuff out there, and the right people end up seeing it. And maybe they go to Facebook and look, and whatever they see me posting just validates that, oh, she is a leader that I feel good about signing up with. I like what she's talking about. I like that she's a mom. I like she spends time with family. I like, that she talks about personal development. So that's like, my marketing isn't like a guru, like you said, type of marketing thing. So I never even thought, I'm just me, you know what I'm saying? I'm just so authentic. I don't care if there's a lot of people watching or a little bit. But to be honest, y'all, I don't ever have a lot of people watching, but it still works out for me. So getting back to a previous business where I had tens of thousands of people internationally, you know, in Southern Africa. Literally, how did this happen? Well, I put out a video. I put out videos on YouTube, and I wrote on an index card, I am an international leader with teams in Africa and in Latin America. I put it on my refrigerator, and I would see it all the time, and I would speak it and just, you know, focus on it. And literally someone called me one day and said, "Oh, I came across your video." I closed my eyes and I asked God, "Is she the one?" God said, "Yes, she's the one. Call her, sign up with her." Right. And I didn't know anybody in Africa. Like, I just knew that I wanted to be a leader of an international team from Africa. And this lady who lived here in the United States, but she said, "I'm here in the US, but I only build in Africa." And I'm like, oh my God, this is what I wrote on this index card. Like, it's manifested itself. And she came in, great leader, built this thing, and now here I am traveling South Africa, a team of 10,000 people. So
talk about manifesting and the power of the tongue. And I know this to be true because you got those Africans on your squad. Like, yes, yeah, and they know. And the thing, you know, everybody that I've been talking to, that, you know, a lot of people don't understand how powerful international business can be, because people in Africa treat things a little bit differently than somebody in Minnesota, than somebody in Maryland. Like, you know, somebody in Maryland. Go ahead.
I said they need to eat today. I mean, they hustle, right?
Right.
They make things happen because they don't have that $40, $50, $60, $70,000 a year job that's their base that can keep them comfortable in their uncomfortability. No, they like, we need to make it happen.
No, and that's the thing about certain marketplaces that I think that people don't understand. Like, when you wrap your head around that, and be like, man, I could do something magical in this particular marketplace, or you have some connections over there. It's amazing what happens with the international business. And speaking of, you know, you have here recently, I think it was either your daughter or your son, somebody just came back from Africa, and based upon, you know, your dad is there, and I know your mom is on the way. So, you know, my question is that, even though they've got all this swag, because they still got swag at there. I mean, they, especially your mama. I'm not saying that your dad don't got swag, but your mama got swag. And you can't tell her nothing. And I love it. Would you say that the fact that they are able to live their life here and then make a whole transition and say, we're gonna move to Ghana and live the rest of our lives in Ghana and come back periodically and see the family, would you say a lot of that has to do with the success and the connections and relationships that they built inside this industry?
I would say it has to do with the mindset that they developed from this industry.
Nice.
Has to do with. My father would always say, people are so busy making a living that they don't have time to design a life. And so one thing my father did for himself and taught me to do is, you design life on your terms and you live it how you want to live it. So my father is over 80. He's 81. Most people 81 aren't deciding to move to a different country.
Right.
But he's just, I'm going to make a decision and I'm going to make it happen. I'm doing it because I want to. My father knows the power of the mind. And he's just like, and he's not over there doing network marketing business. He's being used by God. He's helping people. He's already found someone God put in his heart and put this little girl into fashion school. He's just making a difference and just loving life. And it's slower pace there. It's not fast. He's just loving the life that he has designed for himself. And again, like that said, it's a mindset to do something like that, you know?
Well, he might not be building, but your mama still is.
She probably called you last week.
She texted me. Sure, she did. She texted me. She sent me some info.
So, yeah, let me tell you. Hey, I said, Ma, somebody asked you, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? My mother's 78. Like, what would you say? And she said, first thing I would say is, I want to travel with the rest of my life. Then I want to make enough money to do what I want to do whenever I want to do it, spend it on whoever I want to spend it on, just help whoever I want to help. So they like, age is not a number. It's just, I wake up what I want to do today. I'm able-bodied. I took care of my health. I feel like it's just the mind. This is like still creating, still productive, still looking to make things happen in the world, you know, still partying. My mother, she can find a party, right?
Yeah, and we have to hope and pray that, you know, at 78 and 80 years old that we have that same energy and we're able to move around the same way and have that same drive, because you're right, like, you know, people that are that age, they typically don't. Your mom and dad are still at events, everything. I mean, just understand this, still full of swag and dancing and having fun and just vibrant, you know. So, and that's what it's all about. That's what it's literally all about. So, Bunmi, as we wrap this up, you know, I've asked everybody this question. This was the last question that I've asked everybody. I want you to really, really think about it. And I want to frame it right, because the name of the book is Untold Upline Secrets.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about the past 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever it's been, whatever point that you can go to where there is an upline, a sideline, a mentor, a coach, something that someone told you from this industry that they wanted you to do, something that they told you that they wanted you to do,
Mm-hmm.
or some sort of tip that they gave you, okay, that you did not do, that you wish you did, that maybe you did it 5 years later, 10 years later, was something that could have compressed time, something that could have helped you build your team faster, something that could have put you in got you to that 6 figures faster. What do you think it would have been?
Cedrick, this is not an easy question.
That's the whole point of it. That's the whole point of it. It makes you think. It's like everybody had like, it was something that somebody said that maybe you didn't listen to at that moment, but then 5 years later, 8 years later, it's like, Bob told me this 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or something clicked, and then you paid attention to it, and voila.
Okay, I think I know what it is. And it's still a struggle for me, but I wish I had learned to deal with this years ago. My mother always said, you can't make people good. You just got to find good people.
Mm.
And she's like, Bunmi, you're spending so much time on these people. Like, even though they were people, she's like, you can't make this person something that they're not.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
And I think that had been a struggle. Like, maybe I like pouring into people. I'm not saying don't pour into people. Maybe I was pouring into the wrong people too much. I mean, I don't want to say it like that, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, you got to know where to, you put your attention to where it's deserved, not where it's needed.
Right.
Got to learn to do that. And sometimes when you're a heart-centered person, you just like, but this person, I want them to make it, and maybe if I do this for them more, maybe I help them more, but she will always say, you can't make people good. You got to find good people. So I would say, if I had done better with spending my time on going after the talent more, I think I would have done even better faster.
I love that. I think that goes back to the analogy of, well, part of it anyway, it makes me think about, hey, it's better to bring in new blood than try to revive the dead. Because so many times we try to revive the dead instead of bringing in new blood. But I think that made me think about that. But what she said, it's just bigger. That's big. That's bigger thinking, because we do spend time in the wrong places sometimes, and we wanted more for those people, and we spend all that time on those people, and then sometimes it makes us frustrated.
Yeah,
I gave this person 6 months of my life, a year of my life, 3 years of my life, 5 years of my life, and now look, they don't want to do nothing. It's like, I could have spent that time somewhere else, because time is our most valuable asset.
Yes.
It's definitely our most valuable asset. Well, Bunmi, I really have enjoyed this conversation. I'm sure that the people that are able to watch this are able to enjoy it as well. You have dropped some nuggets here. There's only a couple of people out of all these interviews. There's only a couple of people that were second generation networkers, you know, so to be able to hear that story and understand it. And I learned from every interview, you know, and I've learned some nuggets here, but I have no idea how I've been knowing you this long. and like, this is the first time it hit me like, are you a single child? Like, duh. Yeah, said. Like, I don't know why I never asked that question, but it makes my brain go even crazier now, because now I'm visioning being in the back of the room and your parents there, and this is always pouring in you, always hearing and hearing and hearing, and now you can't unhear, you can't unsee what you saw. So that's deep. So I would tell you, continue to keep crushing it. Super proud of your success and everything that you've done. I know you've got a long way to go. I know, based upon you understanding this industry, and you've been in product-based companies as well. So, you know, you probably got some products in your garage that's going to help you to live to 362 years old. So you got plenty more years to go. So keep on impacting, sharing the gospel with the world, and building teams and building more leaders. I appreciate you so much. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you, Cedrick, for all that you have poured into me and for the contribution you've made to my life. So thank you so much, and to the contribution that you continue to make towards the world. We all love you.
Thanks so much. I appreciate you. We'll chat soon, Rockstar. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.